think so much was said. I kept writing down good things I heard as I was going along, and then like pages of stuff. So I can't go through all of that now. But maybe just to make a kind of a few comments at the end, and then I'll invite just if people have any final comments. But just before going on to that, I would just like to go back to Andrew, who is our keynote speaker and gave us a very inspiring address this morning. Andrew, you've been here for the day. Would you like to make any kind of final comments on what you've seen and heard from all of us?
I haven't planned this, David, at all. And you asked me about 20 minutes ago. So I'm not going to repeat many of the excellent things that have already been said, because I think there's been so much that's been said, which is fantastic. And interestingly enough, it's the same story the world over. You know, this isn't something that we only hear in the UK or we only hear in Ireland. If we had a similar meeting in Malawi with Malawian partners, or in Zambia with Zambian partners, we'd be hearing very similar things. And that's good, because it shows that actually something's going right. We've got 2 or 3 comments, and I think the first thing I'd say is I touched a little bit this morning on what happens when a partnership fails, and I have to say that our experience in 172 grants in the current programme, I think we've had 2 partnership failures in all of that. The most spectacular one was 2 UK partners who couldn't get on. It had nothing to do with the developing country partner at all. It was a triangular arrangement. And the egos that were at play in the UK, between the 2 UK partners, were just horrific. And it ended up being very, very messy. But essentially, none of those principles of partnership, which I have talked about this morning, were at play in that relationship at all. So I suppose my comment is, failure can happen on your doorstep, as well as thousands of miles away, so just be aware of that. I've been really impressed with the immense energy in the room, but not only the energy, but the immense knowledge and experience that is in here. So again, I think I'd just encourage you to do more of these things if you can. It's not possible to do it on this scale all the time, but where you're geographically close, keep talking to each other. It can be, I know from experience and from what other people tell me, it can be pretty lonely running a partnership sometimes. And I suppose the point really is, which leads on to my third point, is that none of us in the room, and I certainly wouldn't consider myself one either, is really a development professional. We're not, are we? We're all kinds of things. We're doctors, nurses, physiotherapists, pathologists, pharmacists, whatever. And I think that the great thing about this model is it provides a bridge for us from what we do day to day into that development world. And that's fantastic. That's never really happened before. There have been programs like long-term volunteering programs like VSO and things like that, but you really had to, VSO, you had to commit for 2 years. And so to be able to mobilize people like you and like a couple of thousand of folk in the UK, for instance, who have no development experience but have enthusiasm, have got energy, and have got experience and knowledge to share, is just such an amazing thing. And that's one of the hallmarks. It's what makes this whole thing different. It's why there's so much energy in the room. If this was a room of development consultants, well, I would have gone to sleep straight after lunch. Because there isn't that passion. And I think that's what stands out for me today, is the amount of passion that's in the room. So the other thing I'd just say is, when we started this program 5 or so years ago, I have to say that there was a fair amount of scepticism amongst the development conservatives, as I would put them, in DFID. They said, no, but hang on, what do these people know about development? We're the ones that know about development. how can you expect a doctor or a nurse to go out and do something that's worthwhile? It's not going to work. I'm just loving to see their faces when they see the evaluation report, which says it does work. But the interesting thing was that I think it must have been nearly 2 years ago now. I was invited to go and speak to the annual gathering of DFID's health advisors. They come in from all over the world, and this was in East Kilbride in Scotland. And I did a presentation, and one by one, the people who'd been the most vociferous at the beginning came up to me. They didn't quite apologise, but they sort of sidled up and said, "Actually, it's quite good, isn't it?" Yeah, okay. And the proof now is that the whole of the UK government's focus is on institutional partnerships in development. And that's what the big focus is now. And we're going to see another health partnership scheme come on after this one. So I just encourage you to keep doing what you're doing, keep talking to each other, keep enjoying what you're doing, and it will really, really make a difference. Thanks, Dave.
Thanks very much, Andrew. We're just very pleased you were able to come over and share with us, and we look forward to continuing to work alongside you. Luciano, would you like to say something? Luciano is from ESTHER, Switzerland, so one of our ESTHER partner countries, and maybe you've one or two reflections from being here today.
Well, I didn't want to, but you asked me for. So it's always difficult to say something clever, especially when it is not in my first language, so excuse my English. So I'm really impressed with what was accomplished by ESTHER Ireland so far, especially with limited resources. Partnership is not something that started with ESTHER, but think where you were before ESTHER. You have a lot of doctors, nurses, physiotherapists, hospitals that are trying to do something good for health. And ESTHER is trying to bring that together in partnership. And as you mentioned, Andrew, partnership is a mindset. It's not only that. Partnership is also a constant learning process that has to be nurtured. Partnership is also part of a systemic approach. And if you bring partnership together, you create networks. And I think that the point today here is really to create a network of partnership. And another important point is also that if you look at the title of the meeting of today, is the first partnership forum. So I guess there will be a second and a third. And I think the value added in this is that to bring people together again and again in order to share experiences and to learn together. And I think this is really the important point. And this brings me also about the reflection of the ESTHER European Alliance. We also have to find way of sharing experience, not only among partners of the ESTHER Island, but we have other countries where people are doing similar, if not identical things. And sometimes we are doing things in the same countries, but we don't know about each other. So this is a challenge for us to do that. And partnership is not just sharing experience among Western or European actors. Because if we look into the room, there is an imbalance between Irish partner and Southern partner. And this is not a criticism, but I think we, also in Switzerland, we have to learn to increase the sharing of experience, because also the Southern partner can learn more from that. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad I did ask him. Always worth waiting for. In fact, you said a couple of things that I might have said myself, but you said them better. I don't need to say them. So I'm going to not worry about all the notes I've written up of things I might say now. I think it's been a great day. I think the value has been the learning among ourselves. We've listened, we've learned from each other. I think that's a strong theme coming out of this, that we learn from each other. We need to continue networking, and that we need to continue events like this to learn how to do it. And your point about it, partnership being a mindset, it's how we approach it in our heads, the attitude we go in with. We go in to learn, to listen, to be flexible, to be responsive. And I think if we go in with the right attitude and the right mindset, I think that will keep us on track. Now, you also mentioned about the very positive energy, and that, I think, to me, it raises also a caution that you can get carried away sometimes with enthusiasm. We're all doing good things, it's great, it's positive, we're learning. And I think people brought up some cautionary things that we need to be mindful of, and I think we need to take away them as lessons for the ESTHER programme and for all of us. And I think particularly Dermot made a very strong point about how we can all be going along with our little initiatives, and suddenly we find we're competing for funding and we can't get funding, and suddenly what we think is sustainable suddenly is not sustainable. So I think it's a bigger picture that we need to be very conscious of, the whole challenge around coordination, duplication, funding. There's a lot of things that can, so what can seem to us like we're doing everything right, we're listening to each other and says, yeah, we're doing it right. But there might be other things going on that we're not aware of. So I think we just need to be conscious of that and take those things on board from today and be constantly thinking about what are the pitfalls out there, so that we don't end up thinking, oh, if only we'd known that, we might have done things differently. So I think we will keep, I hope, learning together. So how are we doing for time? Our time is up, so actually I think maybe I won't invite any more final comments. But there is the evaluation, so please do complete that. But we do always want to hear back from you. And I think back in terms of, as an ESTHER program, things we should be doing in the program. And if you have any particular needs in your partnership that you think the program can help address, I mean, that's what ESTHER is there for. It's about facilitating partnerships. So we do want to hear back from you. I expect we'll be writing this up, so there'll be you'll get some feedback on all the discussions we've had. One more thing I want to say before finishing. People have, some people ask about, well, what's an ESTHER, becoming an ESTHER partnership? And I said earlier on, it's not, as far as I'm concerned, it's not about becoming an ESTHER partnership. I mean, it's not about ESTHER, it's about good partnerships. But one of the things that we do, we have a number of partnerships that we have kind of recognized as ESTHER partnerships, and it's simply a recognition that they are committed to and follow the standard of quality of partnership that we are committed to. And so if many of you started off with applying for grants to develop a partnership, if you have an established partnership and would like to be sort of recognized as an ESTHER partnership, we have a process for that. And essentially, we do kind of an audit and see, are you committed to and do you follow the standard of the Charter for Quality? And then we invite you to be an ESTHER partnership. And it's a way really of just trying to promote the quality of partnerships across all that we do, because I think that's a common thing we're interested in. So finally, I just would like to thank you all for coming. I think these sessions work by everybody's participation. I think it's been great participation, and I've really appreciated listening to everybody myself. I'd like to thank the college here for hosting us at reduced rate. I'd like to give a very big thanks to the ESTHER team, to Nadine, to Steve, to Alison and Neve. I think they are the organisers. Always I want to remember to thank Irish Aid, without whom this is not possible. And in the future, with whose supports this will continue to be possible. And yeah, just to wish you well then as you travel back safely. And yeah, finally, just to thank those who've come a long way, Andrew, Luciano, and there's other people one person from California and our guests from Mozambique. Thank you all for coming.